Hello guys, welcome back to Beyond the Realms, and today I'm going to do another book review, and it's been a little while since I've done one of these, but I just read this trilogy of books and I'm really excited about it. I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and this is Glenn Cooper's Down Trilogy, which this came out, I believe it was August 5th of this year. Might not have been the 5th, but I know it did come out in August of this year. And the cool thing about these books is they all three came out on the same day. How often does that happen? I don't know of too many instances where that has happened, if any that I know of personally. Usually you'll read a book, have to wait a year or two for the next one, and so on from there. But all three of these books came out at the same time. And how I first heard about this book is I found the first one here, Down Pinhole, on NetGalley for free. And I had read one of Glenn Cooper's books earlier this year entitled Near Death, which I absolutely loved. Fell in love with it. Just love Glenn Cooper's writing style. I think he is a very original and underappreciated author. So when I saw this, I'm like, man, I've got to read this. So what this is about is, I'm sure some of you have heard about the atom smashers, as they're called, the hadron colliders or whatever they're called, where it's this real controversial thing they're doing where they're speeding up these atoms at like just ungodly amounts of speed and smashing them together. And some people's thought, these could cause black holes and so on and so forth. Well, this story deals with that, and this takes place in London. They have this research going on, and when they start to run this machine, the one guy that is in charge, he decides, hey, let's take it up to even higher levels. The next collider they were working on, they were going to take up to 20 TeV. This one was only supposed to be 10 TeV, and don't even ask me what TeV is. It's like some mathematical, scientific explanation for speed. I don't know. But anyway, he decides to take this all the way up to 30 TeV. And what ends up happening is it opens up a portal between Earth and Hell. One of the scientists there, Emily Lottie, she is all of a sudden when they hit 30 TeV, she disappears, and there's a guy that appears in her place. Well, the guy in her place ends up running out of the place, out of the scientific research lab, and nobody knows where Emily is. Well, her boyfriend and fellow scientist John Camp is obviously very worried about it. And they end up finding out what happened is Emily was sucked over into hell, and a resident from hell was brought to Earth in her place when they hit 30 TeV. It opened up this portal, and that's what it caused. And the guy that came back was a murderer. He was a very vicious murderer that died I believe he died in the 40s. So he takes off. They're trying to find him. And they're also trying to figure out a way to get Emily back. So what happens is John Camp says, hey, after, so long, a couple days or so, hey, fire this thing up again. We'll come up with a plan. I'll go over there. I will find her. And in the meantime, you're going to find this Woodburn guy. That's his name, the killer. It came from hell. You're going to find him. And what we're going to do is, you'll fire up this collider after a week. And, they figured out if they were in the same spot where they appeared in hell, and if they had the Woodburn guy at the same spot where he appeared on Earth, they would hopefully, switch back. So they decided after a week, we'll fire it up again. We'll do this for 4 weeks, and after the fourth one, we won't do it again. So John does it. Or they have the guy. John has the guys do it. All the scientists. They fire it up. John gets transported to hell, and we see that hell is very different from what we've known. It is not all fire and brimstone. There is no devil. But it is a very grim, depressing, dark place where the sun never shines. It's always gloomy. There are people that had been there for hundreds of years, some people for thousands of years. And the thing is, in hell, you cannot die. You can be beheaded, you can be your arms chopped off, whatever, and you're not going to heal. So what they do is they put these people in these places called rotting rooms, which is basically just where you are left forever and ever and ever in a cut up place, or if you're blown apart or whatever happens, that's where you are left. And everything in hell is like primitive, almost, primitive times. I mean, they and what it is, how they explain it is like people that are good in life, people that have done good in life, they don't come to hell because they've done good with themselves, so they don't get a lot of scientists and a lot of engineers and things like that. So every once in a while, somebody that was bad and did something, killed somebody in their life or whatever, will show up in hell, and they've got some scientific knowledge to themselves, but it doesn't happen very often. So they're very primitive. They do have a few steam cars, but the steam cars and things like that are only owned by kings. And basically hell is the same layout as Earth. It has the same geographic structure of Earth. So when they leave London, they show up in London in hell. But they don't have electricity. They do some of the kings have telegraphs, and that's the thing. It's ruled by kings. And one of the kings that rules over hell is King Henry VIII. And then you've got Joseph Stalin, that was ruler over Russia. He is a ruler in hell. Hitler is mentioned, but he was quickly taken out when he got to hell. And he resides in a rotting room. They never show him, but they do talk about him and say he is in a rotting room. So you've got all these kings set up, and basically, most people that arrive in hell are enslaved. And there are some guns, but they're like muzzle loaders, just really primitive type guns. So that is what hell is like. There are animals there. They do eat the animals. And there are also these people that go around called rovers, which are basically just hell-raising cannibals. They just go around looting, killing, raping, and eating people. And they are all over the place, just bands of these rovers. So, as you would expect, there is constant turmoil in hell, and John is trying to find Emily, which Emily has been sold off through a slave trader to a king, and he's got to try to get to her and get back to the same spot in a place called Dartford within a 4-week span, or they're going to be trapped in hell forever. And that is the layout for Down Pinhole. Now, the sequels to the books are a little bit harder to talk about, because if I talk about too much, I'm going to give away too many plot points, and I don't want to get into spoilers. But the second book is entitled Portal, and as you can tell, the covers are very similar. You see that right there, how the water looks, and then for Portal it looks a little bit bigger. So basically what happens in this is, without spoiling things too much, a portal ends up opening. The first one's a pinhole. It's only 1 for 1. Well, in this one, when they fire it up again, not only are those same people transferred, but there's people in the surrounding areas that are transferred, because this collider, it runs at high speed all under London. So what it does is it ends up taking people from different spots. So then the problem gets even bigger in this one. I really liked Portal a whole lot. The first book was excellent, but the groundwork was really laid to where it started off full-on action in Portal. There wasn't a lot of exposition or world building or whatever. It was, it was all, the groundwork was laid in the first book, so you could really get into a lot of story with this one. I thought Portal was the strongest out of the 3. Very, very good book. And also, by the way, Pinhole, I give that one 4 out of 5. Portal, I give this one a solid 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this book a lot. And then the last book of the trilogy is Floodgate. And in this one, as you can probably already guess, a floodgate of this dimensional portal opens up. So you've got tons of people that are called Hellers that come over to Earth, and then you've got a lot of people that are called Earthers in the book, which are people who are alive that are taken to hell. And the thing is, the people that go to hell, they can die, but the Hellers, like I said, they don't die. But the people go to hell from Earth, they can die. They can be killed in hell. And the whole meaning behind down is some of the people in hell, they don't call it hell, they call it down. You know, when did you come down? You know, how long have you been in down? That's one of the names that they call it. So in Floodgates, all hell is broken loose. All of London is affected. It's been blocked off. You know, all along the Prime Minister of the UK and and the President of the United States, all the world leaders are trying to been keeping this under wraps for the first two books, but in this book they cannot keep it under wraps anymore. People know stuff has went down, things have gone wrong, so it's just gotten crazy. Now in this book, you know, there was so much open-ended stuff from Portal that, you know, went over into this book to close up and to wrap up the story. There was just so much story to wrap up. At times, Floodgate felt like, you know, things were rushed or certain things were skimmed over, where in the other book it wasn't, because the story is just so massively broad by the time you get to this third book, and there's just a lot of loose ends to tie up, and a lot of them just kind of seem skimmed over. But there is a lot of really intelligent stuff in this about the way that how things, you know, with the science stuff on Earth, and then also how, you know, all these battles that are going on in hell, how the people from Earth that go over to hell, how they help certain people that, you know, they might have done bad things in their life to be put in hell, but, you know, they still have some goodness to them. So some of the Earthers are going to work with them to try to be able to get themselves back to Earth. This might all sound confusing. I have no idea. But so how they, you know, help them build weapons and increase their weapons and all this stuff is really cool. But guys, overall, this trilogy is awesome. This book, I'm going to give the third one a 3 out of 5. It was a step down from the first two books, and I explained the reasons why. But still, overall, guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this trilogy of books. I'm going to give the entire trilogy a 4.5 out of 5. And I'll tell you right now, this trilogy will show up on my top 10 of 2015 list that I will be doing a little bit later this month. I'm trying to get it together now. I've read almost 90 books this year, and at least 75-80% of those have been books that came out this year. So it's very hard to narrow down a list, but I can tell you right now, this trilogy will be on that list. And if you're not familiar with Glenn Cooper, I highly suggest you check him out. Out of the 4 books I've read, I've given all of them at least a 4 or higher. I think Near Death I gave a 4.5. Well, I guess the third book I only gave a 3, but still, I'm just counting this as a whole here. But anyway, Glenn Cooper is a really underrated, underappreciated author that just writes really, really good stories. He's a very, very intelligent guy. If you look at his biography of stuff he's done in his life, wow, he's done a lot of stuff, and he's a very smart man, obviously, and he definitely is a great author. So that is Glenn Cooper's Down trilogy. You can pick it up now for really cheap on Amazon. I think all of the books are only $5 a piece. And the first, if you have the Amazon Unlimited, Kindle Unlimited, I think all 3 books are free on there, and wow, they are definitely worth reading, guys. So that is it for now, guys. Check out Glenn Cooper's Down trilogy, and I appreciate you guys watching. Take care, guys. Later.